Once again, I'm Travis Giffen, the Assistant Director with the College of Education online programs. And with us tonight, we have Nancy O'Brien from University of Illinois Library. I'm going to turn things over to Nancy, and she has a library resources presentation for you all tonight. Thank you again for joining.
Sure, I'm happy to be here. Thank you very much for giving up some of your time tonight so I can talk a little bit about resources. And I do apologize to those of you who may be in the middle of a commute, because I'm going to share my screen and show some of the resources on the Zoom link. So hopefully you who are able to look at things on a device of some type are seeing the page for the University of Illinois Library. This is the main page, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the sources that I think are going to be most useful to you in terms of getting online access. If any of you are actually in the region, you can also come in and use the materials on site. But I'm really focusing on what we have available in full text that's accessible and how to find material, especially with a focus on articles in journals. However, if you have questions at any point, please let me know. You can speak up, you can put them in chat. I'm going to rely on Travis to actually monitor chat just in case I missed that. But the main thing I want to let you know is the library is here to connect you with the material and the resources you need so that you can be successful in your time at Illinois. So to start with, the web address for the library is library.illinois.edu. We're going to start there, but we're going to move around a little bit on the library web pages. So on this first page, there are a couple of things I want to point out. On the right side, there is a chat option. So if you have a question or you need help finding full text of an article, you can go ahead and chat with someone here, and you will reach a variety of different people. We have graduate assistants and librarians who staff the chat desk. We also have people from areas such as chemistry and English literature and education or sociology. So you'll get a wide array of people who are working with you. We all can get you connected to either the resource or to the best person to help you with your question if we are not able to answer it in the first round. So chat is a really useful function, and if you haven't tried it, I encourage you to do that. Also on this page, there's a link to find materials, which will take you to our library catalog. And that can be helpful if you're looking for books or ebooks, as the case may be. And so that's a good source to go to for that type of information. Further down on this page, and this block I actually is the U of I catalog link here too, you'll see a couple of other things. So I do want to point out the journal and article locator. I like to point this one out because if you are reading an article or you're reading a book chapter and it has references and you want to know whether or not the library has the full text of that particular item, you can click on this and it really only works for journal articles, not for book chapters. But if you click on this, it pulls up a form. And in the form, you should type or paste in the name of the journal. So for example, if you were looking for something in educational research, you'd put it there. And then to really get to the specific article, type in some of the words of the article. Doesn't have to be everything, but the significant first words that are part of that article, and then look for the journal articles or the journal title. And as an example, if I typed in educational researcher here, there are multiple journals with that name. There's a Midwest educational researcher, an Australian. So the more specific you can be, the better. And that's why you want to type in article words too. This will then take you to a new screen with results on it. And then if we have articles, they will pop up with links. So it's a really good source to use for that. I may come back and demonstrate it later if we have time, but right now I want to go back to the main page. So whenever you're on a library page, if you click on the banner where it says Illinois Library, it'll take you back to this main page. So in addition to the journal and article locator, we do have a list of databases by subject or by title. And if, for example, your instructor said something about, well, you really should be using human resources abstracts instead of education databases, you could go and get a link from this particular list, or from this particular link here. So if you have questions, this is a good starting point. One of the things I kind of bypassed is up near the top. This is the easy search option, and some of you may have been using it, and that is fine. However, it does have limitations. So with your topic, if you type it into this search box, you're going to get results kind of in a way that Google provides results. So let's say you're interested in online learning in a particular geographic region. So let's say in California, you can type that in. You're going to get lots of resources. Some of them are relevant, some are not. And it's going to search a huge number of databases so that it can be a bit confusing. You can also limit to the databases you're searching. For example, education, although this is only a partial list of what I would recommend for education, or social sciences and so on. So while it's a good starting point, it can be, there are more effective ways to search. And what I recommend is that you actually go to the education resource page, which is part of the Social Sciences, Health, and Education Library web pages. So to get there from here, either at the top, there's a link to libraries and hours, or there's one on this orange bar across the middle of the screen. They both take you to the same place. It's a list of about 20 different libraries on campus. For example, the agriculture library, the engineering library, and so on. And as you scroll down, you'll get to the social sciences, health, and education library. And if you click on the link there, it will take you to our page. And our page is one that I recommend that you make a favorite or you bookmark, or if you really want to get precise, I would go down to the links under Find Resources by Subject and select Education. However, that may depend a bit on what your focus is within your program. So for example, if you are interested in human resource education or development, you might want to look at both education and the labor and employment relations. If you're doing something with psychology, such as educational psychology, you may want to consider the databases linked under there. We also work with social work, sociology, speech and hearing science. So there's about 20 different programs that we work with through this library, the Social Sciences, Health, and Education Library. And each one of these links has a recommendation of the most relevant databases. So because I am the education librarian and I kind of favor that, we're going to go to education. And here there is a list of the databases we recommend. There are also links to other sources on this page. So for example, if you're interested in, I think we have a link to data here too. I'll have to look. So the National Center for Education Statistics and other sources that might be helpful. But up near the top are the databases. And the three I recommend are ERIC, Education Full Text, and then jumping down a little bit, the EBSCO Professional Development Collection. So those are the three primary ones. We do have historical indexes that go back to the 1920s. So if you are interested in historical education research, that might be helpful. We also have a link to the free government version of ERIC. And once you finish your program at Illinois, you will no longer have access to some of these databases, but the free government version to ERIC is one that you can continue to use. So if you have a topic that's in education, I would recommend starting with ERIC. And when you click on this, you'll be asked to link in with your NetID and password through the two-factor authentication, which I've already done, so it took me directly to EBSCO. And to really expedite your time, you're going to want to search as many databases as possible. So through the EBSCO company, which has a number of different databases, we can search ERIC and a few others. Now, I have a topic that I set up to search, but if one of you has a topic that you're looking for and you'd like to share that, I'd be happy to use your topic as an example. So just speak up, unmute, and speak up if anybody is interested in getting results for a search.
Or you could type in the chat and I can let Nancy know what that is too.
Definitely that will work.
Global citizenship was mentioned in the chat.
Well, and I started typing, but what I'm going to do first is I'm going to choose some additional databases to really save time and be more effective. So when I click on choose databases, which was above the search box, it gives me a list of all the databases available through the EBSCO company. So this is just through one company. We have other companies and publishers we work with as well, but EBSCO is a good source. So I'm going to add that education full text database that I mentioned, listed in this alphabetical list. I'm also going to click on professional development collection. And then because this is actually talking about global citizenship, I'm going to add Social Index, which covers a lot of social policy and other areas. I'm not going to click on the World Politics Review at this point because I think I want to limit just to those 4 databases. So at the top or bottom of the screen, you can click on OK, and then you will be searching 4 databases at the same time. And if I were actually doing this as a paper, above the search box where it says choose databases, it now says searching ERIC, and then it says show all. I would copy and paste, I'd click on show all, and then I would copy and paste the list of databases I was searching into my document or into a document, so I could list that in my paper, especially if I'm doing a literature review and I want to keep track of where I have searched. So we'll go ahead and do global citizenship. Whoops, and I just mistyped something. All right, and somebody else has already used that term, so I'm just going to select that. Now I will say when the database gives you terms, those are not recommendations from the databases. Those are terms that people have typed in previously, and sometimes they are typed in with errors, spelling errors. So make sure that you check before you click on those to make sure it's what you want. And we'll just go ahead and search on this. So I've come up with 2,903 articles, more than almost anybody wants to look at. And over on the left, I can use filters to reduce that. So it goes back to 1936, it looks like. I'm going to select just the scholarly or peer-reviewed. That's narrowing it down to start with, only to 2,289. And I'm going to kind of make an executive decision here, and I'm going to limit to 2000 to 2021. Now, whoever is interested in this topic, if you have some additional parameters, like if you wanted 2010, we could do that. If you wanted global citizenship in teaching or in higher education or secondary schools, that would be helpful to know too in order to modify the results and let them become more focused. So are there any additional terms we could add to help narrow this a bit?
Critical global citizenship.
Okay. I'm going to try typing that in as a phrase, but we might want to, okay, let me just move things around here. Okay, so that was a good one because we are now down to 126 results from our 2000 and some. And here is the first one, interfaces of critical global citizenship. Education, excuse me, in research about secondary schools in the global north context. And you could add global south, global north, other geographic regions if you're interested. So this retains the fact that these are peer-reviewed articles from 2000 to the present. If you're not quite sure what this is about, there is a magnifying glass icon over on the right. If you hover over that, that will give you a pop-up and an abstract of what that article is about. So this can be really useful. Sometimes when you open up something in a database search and you go back and forth using the browser back, it can eventually bump you out of your search completely, losing everything you've found. So using the pop-up is useful. And if that looked like it was interesting after you went ahead and looked at the summary, you can mark that and then keep going. This one actually even looks more relevant, researching global citizenship education towards a critical approach. So we'll add that. And actually, it looks like this was a really good phrase to use, the critical global citizenship. Now, you are finding things when you do this about other countries. So we have Ghana. I'm sure we'll see some from other parts of the world. And I'm just marking some randomly here. Okay, so if I were doing a serious search, I would probably continue to mark items going on to a second screen of results to see what's there. I'd also look at the subject terms that are coming up under each one to see if there's an article that looks particularly useful. And one I'm seeing is not necessarily the article is useful, but the terms they're using are global approach, citizenship education, global education. So those are other terms that you could use in your search box. And if you had finished your search and you decided this was interesting and something you wanted, then over on the right, there is a folder view with any item that you have put into a temporary folder. And what I didn't clearly explain is as I went through, I marked items to do something with, email, save to my device, export to Zotero or Mendeley or another citation system. And once I clicked on a blue folder, it changed it to yellow or gold and put it in a temporary folder that disappears as soon as you close your tab. So before you finish searching or before you complete your work in that database, you should always go to your folder and make sure that you've done something with the items that you've marked. Some people like to do this one at a time and email or download or save to their device. I tend to do it in a batch because I try and be mindful of people's time. So there's a folder view on the right. It's also available at the top on this orange bar. But if you click in either place, it shows that I marked 7 items, 7 articles to then either email, download, or export. I tend to email, and Erin, if you wanted, I could actually email these to you, but I don't know how relevant the 7 I arbitrarily chose are, but that would be an option as well, and I would just need to have your email address. So emailing is one option, and I'm just going to show you what you would do. Fill in your, oh, okay. We will go ahead and do that. And once again, be sure that you note your typing because I already mistyped her email address. twice. Okay.
Happens to the best of us.
And I think it happens when you're being watched too. I think that's the general theory. So I like to say it is not spelling errors, it's just typing. So this is something you'll want to think about if you're doing this for your own research. You can remove what you are sending. So I have 7 marked articles. If I click on remove, then it won't continue to accumulate. But if I go back and do some more searching, that folder will just keep adding. And maybe I switch topics in the middle of my searching. So I'll get, maybe 26 items, half of which are for one topic and half are for another. So removing them will let you make sure you're only getting ones for that particular search. So these will come with the full text or a PDF. Full text is HTML or the PDF. And there is a standard field format, which will send the abstract, the citation, and the link if a link is available. Or there's the citation format. And you can't have both the abstract and the citation, but if you want APA 7th citation format, and Erin, if you want to let me know, I can go ahead and send it with APA citations, or I can send it with the abstract and sort of a generic. Oh yeah, most people say APA. So unless you're going to sit down and kind of browse through, 70 abstracts, sometimes the APA is the best option. And then we'll just go ahead and send it. And assuming that I correctly typed Erin's email address, it's been sent to her and it should be starting to pop up in her email. If there is full text, and such as a PDF link or an HTML, they'll come separately. If there is a Discover link, which I'm not seeing here in this batch, sometimes if there are multiples, there'll be 3 or 4 will come in a single email message. So it's possible to get up to 7 different messages with links here. Now, if Erin were doing, I'm sorry to choose you as my kind of guinea pig example here, but if Erin were doing this on her own device and she decided instead that she wanted to export them into a system like Zotero or Mendeley or one of these other options, EndNote, she would choose this option, save it, and then would have to open up Zotero and it would be loaded for her. So she could have that information. You can also download items as an Excel spreadsheet if you prefer to do that. And there are a number of other sources that you can export to. I'm going to use the back within the database here and just get here. And then you can also save as a file to your laptop, computer, whatever device you're using as well. So you have lots of different options within the database searching. Let me go back a minute. I want to show you a couple of other things. So this was a really precise search, which was nice, but let's say that in this case, we really wanted to see what was going on with critical global citizenship and the global South. You can always add another term or another concept in a different row, and that will narrow your search even further. So we went from 126 to just 4 when I did that. And you can kind of go through and decide if that's relevant or not. Other things you can do would be, let's say you're interested in critical global citizenship and you want to know if there are any qualitative research studies out there. I'm just going to put in qualitative. You can put that in another row. And actually, you know what, that was my bad because, oh, it did work correctly. I forgot that it was not just looking at those 4. So from 126 to 6, but these should relate to a method, and you could put in meta-analysis or literature review or other terms like that to narrow down your search if you like to. So using the search boxes to help be effective in your searching is good. And then one other thing I want to point out before we move into maybe an activity is search history. So above the search boxes is where you can choose additional databases. Below the search boxes is a search history. And this shows you the terms that you have used starting from the bottom of the screen. So we started out with global citizenship and 2,903 articles or results. We narrowed that down with scholarly and dates, and that reduced it to about 2,200. And then we added critical, which made it a much more precise term, 126. So as long as you're still in the same session, you can open up any one of these and you can look at the results, or you could go back and say you wanted to start with those 2,200 and add a completely different term. So you have lots of flexibility here. One thing I know that some students have found useful is to take a screenshot so they have a record of what terms they used, or you can just, copy and paste from these into a different document, although the links are not active once you do that, but the terminology and the limits you put on there is available. And then I'm going to collapse this again. The other thing I didn't point out, and this is part of our search strategy for the first activity, is if you want to, you can actually search specific information. So I've been leaving it at this optional select a field. You can search just by author or just by the title of an article. Source is the name of the publication. So typically that would be the name of the journal. So let's say you're a research assistant and the person you're working with says something like, I want all the articles in the review of educational research, that's the source, on a particular topic. Well, you can select source as one code and the topic over here is another. So you do have lots of options when you're using this. So let me just go back. So does anybody have any questions before we try the first activity? And hopefully you can do that on your own computer or device, open up a new tab. Or if you want to have me try it for you, I can type in something too. Any questions?
Nancy, I had one question, like when you were talking about the sources, that way of searching. This is a little bit broader than exactly what you were saying right there, but like if you were really interested in one particular journal and you thought like, I just want to be up to date on like when that it gets published each year, like the volumes and things, is there any like setting or something within the library system to like get pinged essentially when that gets published? Or I just didn't know how you can kind of like follow a journal if you generally feel like it's a good source for your research.
Some journals may have an RSS feed option on the journal page itself, but the trick is you have to go through the library pages to get to the journal to make sure that you can do that, showing that you're entitled to access. What I would be more inclined to do is, let me just use my favorite educational researcher example. So there is something you can do that would probably get you the type of information you're interested in. So if you're interested just in articles from this journal, and remember, you then want to specify that it was educational researcher from AERA and not select the Australian one. And you wanted articles on, now let's say, I don't know what we'll have, but we'll try global citizenship again. I'm not sure what's going to come up, if anything, here. So, okay, so this one, which is a little bit older, 2008 and 2009, and this was the Midwestern. What you can do once you have found the journal that you're interested in and maybe a topic to get really specific, you can go back to your search history. You can select a search, such as the one I just did. So it could be everything. And then you can set up a free account in EBSCO. And there's a sign in here where it will ask you if you need to sign in or create a new account. And you can save your search and have alerts sent to you on a periodic basis. This is probably a little more useful for a topic you're interested in rather than everything that comes out from Educational Research, or as an example, because that comes out multiple times during a year and you maybe only want one topic. But the save searches and setting up an alert is really handy.
Great,
So
thank you.
yeah, it doesn't quite answer what you're asking, but it's one way to get to that. And again, you could just do everything coming out from Educational Research, or it's just you're going to get a lot of pings because that is so frequently published.
Okay, great, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Okay,
We
well,
did get
go
we
ahead.
did get a question in the chat. If you could show how to get to EBSCO host again.
Sure. So the trick to EBSCO host is that you need to go through a library page. Anytime you go to Google and type in the name of a journal or a database, they're going to ask you to subscribe or pay for it. So always go through a library page. I actually started at the main library page, clicked on Libraries and Hours, and then chose the Social Sciences, Health, and Education Library. So I'm kind of doing a shortcut here. We're already at Social Sciences, Health, and Education Library. Clicked on the link to education subjects down here. And this is one you might want to make a favorite when you get to this point. So resources in education. And this is also on the list of links that will be part of what's sent to you later. So from here, there's a link to this one, but from here you do have to click on a database. So let's go to ERIC as only one of the many EBSCO databases. And once you do that, you can choose additional databases. So EBSCO is this big company. They have many databases. I think of them like a comparable to one of the big car companies like Nissan or Ford or whatever. And then they have all those different models of cars. Well, EBSCO has all these different databases. EBSCO has a competitor called ProQuest. ProQuest is where you would go to find the psychology databases, for example. So while I'm taking you through EBSCO, because that's where the major education databases are, depending on your topic and your research, you may end up going to ProQuest. And how that would happen is kind of similar. Let me back up here. So let's say that you were at this page, and I'm just going to click on education related databases. So down here we have PsycInfo. If I clicked on that one, or sociological abstracts, those would take me to a completely different website, ProQuest. And I could do comparable searching. They're a little different in their format, but they're pretty much going to have the standard setup of, multiple search boxes with the opportunity to put each concept in a different search box when you're searching. Did that answer your question? And don't forget there's a chat feature. So if you're having problems, please, use chat or email me. And I should have said again on that sheet that you're getting, my email address is there, also my phone number. And I am quite happy to meet with anyone individually through Zoom and in person if you happen to be on site on campus. But if you want to set up a Zoom meeting, just let me know and we can figure out a time to meet where we can do this kind of searching, sharing screens, but focusing on your topic and trying to find resources relevant to what you're looking for. Yes, thank you for putting that in there. Okay. So do you want to go ahead and try to search for something by looking for a specific author? And depending on the author that you're interested in, you and the research area, you might want to search something broader than just the education databases. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to try that.
We got a question that would you recommend to start here instead of essay search?
Yes, I actually would. I've only found one instance recently where somebody had better results going to easy search using the focus databases and using the sort of power you get to fine tune your search by using more than one box to search in and letting the database do the work of linking your topics together just seems to be much more effective. And you may get different results with easy search that maybe are less relevant. Good question. Okay, I don't know if people have had time to actually search an author, but does anybody have an author they searched and they'd like to share which databases they searched and if they got any results? All right. Well, one thing I wanted to mention is if you have an instructor and you want to see what they've published, this is something that you can do. But again, keep in mind, their research may go beyond the databases for just education. So for example, if you were looking up Rebecca Ginsburg, and you'll notice I actually go through kind of old school library format, last name, comma, first name, but you can certainly, in most of these databases, you could also just type in Rebecca Ginsburg. And I'm going to switch to author search for her. And my search history is still showing up, so I want to collapse that by clicking on the search history again. So I'm coming up with 5. Which is actually, I think, far fewer than she has. So I may have used other databases in the past when I was doing this, but you can look at these to see if they seem to be the Rebecca Ginsburg here on our campus. And she is very active with social justice. So I'm seeing a couple here that looks like they are from her 2014 article. And this one is, I'm looking to see, also 2014. So you can do this with an instructor, or when your advisor says something like, well, you really ought to be looking at articles by this person who is a major expert in the field, you can do that. Just remember that you may need to adjust the databases you're searching to be more comprehensive. So for example, we're searching 3 education databases and the Social Index. Academic Search Complete is very broad. It covers engineering, it covers all kinds of topics. And the other databases that are available through here are also focused on different topics. So let me just go ahead and see if we can search her. Oh, and also I may still have my limits on No, it's gone back to the 90s. So now we have 9 articles with an author named Rebecca Ginsburg. May or may not be our particular Rebecca Ginsburg. So this is a useful thing to look for. Also, I did want to point out, since this came up, this one is showing up as a book, and occasionally you'll have that with journal articles too. So this journal article, which was published in Counseling Psychologist, does not have full text. When it says discover full text, that means that EBSCO, this company that we're searching, its databases, does not have permissions to provide full text for that article, but the library may have negotiated in that access through some other company. So if you click on Discover Full Text, what it will do is it will open up another tab. And in this case, this particular article, which seems to have a couple of people from the University of Illinois, including Helen Neville, is available in some capacity in print here, but it's also available online, and it's available online through this company. So if you clicked online, it'd take you down here, and then you choose the one that should include the date you're interested in. And here we go. Here's the abstract, and there is a link to download the PDF. So use that Discover link. Please, please don't go directly to a publisher's webpage and see that you have to pay $29.95 to get access to the article. Always try and go through the library web pages first to see if we have free access. Now, let's pretend in this case that you went to this page and it said no full text available. You still have an option to get a free copy of this. If that happened, they would either give you a link to the Interlibrary Loan service, or if you didn't see that, you can go back to the library page or a library page. And under Borrow Materials, there's a link to Interlibrary Loan. You should be able to get free articles for anything that we do not have in print or that we do not have full text access to. You should also be able to request a scanned copy of an article if we have it in print in our collection by using this Doc Express link over here. You do have to log in to request an item, or sometimes, depending on where you're coming from, it may already be a pre-populated form that you get to. That's a lot to remember, but please remember that if you ask for help, we'll be more than happy to help you try and connect to the actual resource you need. So you can email me, you can use chat, you have lots of different ways of getting assistance. So please take advantage of them, and we'll try and get you connected. All right. Any questions at this point? Oh, I'm seeing Angela's question. Make sure I've got your name right. Yes, Angela. So Taylor and Francis is one of the companies we have contracts with for some items, but not all. So if you are looking for a Taylor and Francis article and you went directly to the name of the journal or to Taylor and Francis, you could see that. But to find out if we have free access, this is when I would use that source on the very main library page, and that journal and article locator. I'd put in the title of the journal that you're interested in and some of the words of the actual journal article. So name of the journal here, article words here, article title words here. If you still get a response like, no results, or they come up with something that is not right, that's when I would either chat with somebody or just go straight to filling out a request for interlibrary loan. So Taylor and Francis does have a lot of content, and because we have some of what they produce, they tend to show up as having material, and then when you get to that article, it's like, no, we don't have access. So check with us or use our Interlibrary Loan service, because that is free. And that is a great question. Thank you.
And just to comment, Nancy, to Angela's point, I've often had that with Taylor and Francis, where I'm like, yay, I'm so excited for this article. And then I like see at the bottom, I think sometimes even at the bottom, there's like the institutional login, but then somehow it just doesn't work. And then I get all scrappy and try to go to like Google Scholar or something. I'm
Right.
like desperate for the article, but I'm like, darn it, why is that one not working?
Yeah, and it really is that we just don't have everything from Taylor and Francis. So it's
Sure.
not that we can't get it to you, it just may take a little bit longer. And our Interlibrary Loan service is very fast.
I've used it. It's like really great. Like there were some I really wanted like really badly from a certain author, and then I got him in a couple days. It wasn't like bad at all.
Great. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, take advantage of the services that are available to you, because really we don't want you to have to pay extra for something we already paid for. And if we can get it for you free, we absolutely will. Any other questions or comments about library services? Any concerns?
I just wanted to add here in case anybody had questions about that. Aaron, you're out of state, right? And the interlibrary loan has all worked out for you well. I know that that's sometimes maybe a fear that people have. So
Yeah, all was good.
Good. Now, if you're not registered as an online student, sometimes you can't get some services. So for example, Aaron, you're out of state and you're registered through the university as an online student, hopefully. In that case, we actually should be able to mail books to you. So if you needed a print book, we should be able to mail it to you, but you have to pay to mail it back. So there are some things that are, not ideal. If you are not registered as an online student, then we can't send you a print book, because the assumption is you're available to come in on campus and get the item yourself, even though maybe you're still in some other state, because that's just more convenient. So there are some nuances. So again, just ask and we'll try and figure out what's going on and what your alternatives are in a case like that. It may be that you have to use a local community college that provides services to the community to find the books you need, the print books. And we will order books too, online books. So, again, ask.
Nancy, what is generally the status of ebooks? Because I found that those can be so helpful too, just to have like a big old, copy in a PDF or something. Is that becoming more common with the pandemic or anything? I didn't know what the status was there.
Yeah, during the shutdown, we actually moved to ordering as many ebooks as we got requests for, but not all publishers make them available to us, or a few will say, yes, for one user, we will let you have an ebook, but you're going to have to pay $1,200, and we just can't afford that. So there are some odd things, but since you asked, thank you. I'm going to take you again to the library page. We're going to go to Find Materials and go to the library catalog. And Erin, I'm going to just kind of continue to search on your topic. Let's say, but if somebody else wants me to try theirs, I'll be happy to do it. Let's do global citizenship again. Now, I would probably look for that as a title, because I'm not sure where it would appear otherwise. We'll just try it as a title and see what we come up with. So this is looking for books in our collection, our 14 million volume collection that have global citizenship in the title. We have 226 results, but that's not going to help Erin a whole lot unless they're ebooks. So over on the left, there is a filter that you can select so that we only look for the online ones. And, that first one might have been the great book, but here we have, of those, however many there were, 107 are coming up as ebooks. So using the online option or format as a filter is really helpful. And you can see, and actually this does include more than books because I'm looking over here. So we have some books, we have some videos, a journal. Presumably these are all online, so you can find all kinds of information that way. One thing I did want to follow up with Erin's question about this is, depending on the publisher, depending on their restrictions, sometimes you can download the entire PDF. Sometimes you can only do it chapter by chapter. There are a few that are just not very user friendly, so we try and purchase them if it's available from the best source in terms of how they let people use the book. But there are some things that are, you know, sometimes surprising. And some of them only do allow one user at a time. So if somebody had this book already checked out, or was looking at it online, then you would not be able to get to it until they finished, basically. Any other questions? Oh, so I'm kind of trying to monitor chat too. So Interlibrary Loan, if you need an ICARD for that and you're an online student, then what I would do is I would request the Photoless ID card. And if you haven't done that before, let me just get you to a library page. This is actually on that handout too, although not a specific link to the Photoless ID card. I am looking for something called Library Guides. Oh, right here, right in front of me. And there's a guide we have for distance education or distance learners. That link is on your handout that you'll be getting. So there's a decision chart. That's not really what I want to go to. Let's go here to distance learners, requesting books. One of the tabs here is the IDs and email. If you don't have an ID, you probably want to do this because there are some things you have to have an ICARD to check out. And you can do that by filling out this form that goes to the Center for Innovation in Teaching and Learning website, and they should be able to get you the ICARD. And so then you'll have the information. Takes a couple of days to activate, but you should be good to go once you've got that. If you run into any problems, let me know. I know that sometimes Interlibrary Loan has some restrictions that are imposed on them by the national network. All right, any other questions? I did have a second activity. It's on the chart, but Travis, I think maybe you have some other things to cover.
Yeah, if we could get to that activity, I know that it is a small group. Before people go, it looks like some people have to head out. We're always looking to try and find out what student events everybody is interested in. So I've started a little poll for those of you still with us. If you could give us some feedback there. We want to make sure that we are offering events that everybody's interested in and it is useful to all the students. With there being a small group, we can either continue on with the activities, or if anybody has any specific questions about any of their own research that they're working on or doing, we could do those as well. We won't do a breakout tonight because the breakout room would be about the sizes of everybody who's here. So I'm gonna open it up to anybody and see if there are just any general questions, or if anybody has any specific questions about any research that they are doing currently. And as Nancy had shared earlier before, you can email or give her a call if you'd like to set up an individual session to work on any of your research or questions like that. I'll make sure that this recording will be sent out tomorrow morning, but after the event, I'll email out the resources that Nancy shared with us tonight. But I think that it's been a great night, and I really appreciate your time, Nancy, and everybody's time who did attend this evening. It looks like people are needing to head out to other things like that, which is totally understandable. Don't want to make anyone miss their class tonight or anything like that. So
Absolutely. And, you know, always contact if anybody has questions.
we did get a question. Angela did ask or to confirm that they can request to get books mailed out of state.
You should be able to, Angela, but I know some things changed with the pandemic, so it may be that's still restricted. If you don't already have the ICARD, I would get that. Then I would try requesting it again. And in the meantime, you know what, let me go ahead and contact our Interlibrary Loan librarian, and I'm going to jot down your name, which should give me your email address if I look you up in the directory, and I'll ask about Interlibrary Loan and mailing books out of state. And I'll get back to you. Oh, thank you. Yeah, great. That's helpful, Angela, to have your email address. And just so you, as a reminder, if you do get books mailed to you, you do have to pay to ship them back. All right. Okay. Anything else? I can let you get on with the rest of your evening with the group.
I think that'll be it for this evening. Thank you, Nancy, and thank you everybody who was able to attend tonight. There will be a Emerging Scholars series. We're resuming that. Lisa Brown will be presenting on her doctoral research that she's done on December 2nd at 5 p.m. And then we are hoping to have a holiday social for online students, and we'll be hosting that on December 9th. And I'll be hosting a trivia night for everybody that is able to attend, and the winner of the trivia will get some Illinois swag, so you won't want to miss it. Thank you again, everyone, and have a great night.
Bye. Thank you.